Hi guys. Today we're going to look at the structure differences in a prose, drama, and poetry. And we're going to use the classic nursery rhyme, Mary Had a Little Lamb. But first, let's look at our objective for today. Class, mirrors up with words. I know how to identify the similarities and differences between prose, poems, and drama so that I will be able to write an essay that explains the major differences in the structural elements between a poem and a passage with 80% proficiency. Mirrors off. So let's look at that. It says, I know how to identify the similarities and differences between poems, prose, and drama. What does that mean? I know how to tell how a prose, poems, and dramas are similar, and I can tell how they are different. So I can compare and contrast them. But you are going to write an essay that explains the major differences in the structural elements only between a poem and a passage. Okay? Even though we're going to talk about three, you're going to write about two. Let's look at prose. This is your literary text. So, what is a prose? Your prose is your ordinary language. That's your ordinary text, your ordinary literary text. But prose is written in sentences and paragraphs, and they may include dialogue. Most of the literature that we read is written in prose. Let's look at the structural elements of prose. Prose consists of sentences, paragraphs, dialogue, and some of them may even be written in chapters. When you think about sentences, a sentence is a group of words that express a complete thought. Paragraphs are sentences that are grouped together. And dialogue, as we learned on yesterday, are words or sentences that quote exactly what the person or the character has said within a story. So let's dig deeper in sentences. A sentence is a group of words that express a complete thought. So it's a group of words. Let's look at the words. As Mary was coming home, she heard a strange little sound, patter, 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 behind her. So when you think about a sentence always begins with a capital letter. And it ends with some type of punctuation. The punctuation can be a question mark, a period, or an exclamation point, but it has to end in a punctuation and begin with a capital letter. Paragraphs. Paragraphs are sentences that are grouped together. So it's more than one sentence. Let's look at the example. As Mary was coming home, she heard a strange little patter, patter, patter behind her. She looked back and saw something white. Mary felt a wee bit afraid and began to run, but her foot struck a rock and down she tumbled. Before she could get up, something soft and woolly was rubbing gently against her. So, as you can see, we have a group of sentences. We have sentence one because it started with a punctuation, ended with it started with a capital letter, sorry, and ended with a punctuation. Sentence two started with a capital letter, ended with a punctuation. Sentence three started with a capital letter, ended with a punctuation. And sentence four started with a capital letter and it ended in a punctuation. But let's look at this paragraph. Another thing that a paragraph has is indentation. So a paragraph has to be indented. Let's move on. Dialogue. Dialogue tells the speaker's exact words. For instance, "Oh, you darling lamb," cried Mary, hugging it. The lamb snuggled close. Dialogue can sometimes be indented. The speaker's words are also placed in quotation marks, and we use speaker tags. The speaker tags tells you who said what. So, other text may be placed in a paragraph with dialogue, as you guys did again on yesterday with your narratives. So you think about your prose or your literary text, you have dialogue, you have sentences, you have paragraphs. Let's move on to our drama. Drama are your plays. So, what is drama? Drama can also be called a play. In its written form, a play includes a cast of characters. It's written in dialogue and it has stage directions. And drama can be organized in scenes and acts. Let's look at the structural elements of drama. It has a cast of characters. Those are the list of characters in a play. Dialogue. Those are the words that tell the actor what to say. Stage directions. That's words that tell how the stage should look and what the actor should do. Setting, of course, are words that tell where and when the story takes place. Scenes are sections of a play with similar settings, and acts. That's the major sections of a long play. So you look at your cast of characters. Your cast of characters is a list of characters in a play. For example, Mary Had a Little Lamb. Your characters would be Mary, the lamb, the mother, the father, and the teacher. Dialogue. Dialogue tells the exact words the actor should say. Let's look at the teacher and Mary. When you look at the teacher and Mary, the teacher says, "Mary, what is 7 times 3?" And Mary says, "What?" So the actor name is always going to be placed at the beginning. It's going to be followed by a colon. The words that follow the colon are the spoken words by the character or the actor. And you do not have to use quotation marks due to the fact that it's already written in dialogue form. Stage directions. Now your stage directions tells you what the character should do. So here where it says teacher, you see the word sternly. That means that's how the teacher should, that's the action that that's what the teacher should do. She should say this, "Mary, what is 7 times 3?" sternly. And then Mary, what is she going to do when she say what? She's going to jump up. So, teacher saying sternly, "Mary, what is 7 times 3?" And then Mary jumps up and says, "What?" Okay. So your stage directions are going to be written in italics and it's going to be surrounded by parentheses and brackets. Next, we have our setting. The author may include the setting, which is where and when the story takes place in the stage directions. For instance, to give you the setting of scene 3, the lamb goes to school. It gives you a little setting. On a warm, sunny day, Mary gazes dreamily out the window of the old schoolhouse. That lets me know where and when the story takes place. So with our drama, we talked about dialogue, stage directions, settings, characters. Now we're going to move on to our poetry. Poetry is your poems. So what is poetry? Poetry is the expressive form of writing. It allows the author to share an idea or insight with others in a meaningful way. Poetry is not written in sentences, in paragraphs like a prose. Instead, it uses different structures that make it a little more interesting. So the structural element of poetry is lines. We can also call lines verses. So it's written in lines, which includes the rows of the text. But like I said, we can call lines verses. It has stanzas, which are a group of verses or lines, and we have rhyme, which are syllables that sound similar. When you look at verses and stanzas, each line of poetry is called a verse because poems are written in lines or verses. So verses are grouped into stanzas. So looking at this stanza, how many verses or lines are in the first stanza of Mary Had a Little Lamb? How many? 4. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 lines in this stanza. Now, how many stanzas are in Mary Had a Little Lamb? How many? Right, 4. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 stanzas. And we also have rhymes. So rhymes are those rhyming words at the end of your lines. For instance, you have snow and go. Snow and go. So let's review. Prose is your ordinary language. It's written in sentences, paragraphs, and dialogue. Drama is a play. It's organized in scenes. Dialogue is not placed in quotation marks because the characters are already there for you, and everything is already spoken words. And poetry is expressive writing. Poems are written Poems are written in lines, stanzas, and they have rhyming words. So, look at your writing prompt. Once you look at your writing prompt, go ahead and decompose your writing prompt because today you're going to tell the differences between the passage and the poem. What are the different structural elements between the passage and the poem? Be sure to use your graphic organizer if you're having trouble. I even gave you an example. Also, when you're doing your writing, make sure to use your checklist because right now we're writing a literary analysis. I want you guys to use your checklist. And don't forget to use your rubric.